I created my life the way it looks this way. So if I'm not happy with it, then I get to do something with it. Nobody else is going to do it. I have to do it for myself.
Surround yourself with people who love you and accept you for being you. Welcome to another inspiring episode of Podcast with SHEILA, the podcast that is spreading positivity around the world by sharing inspiring life experiences. Today's episode has a number of guests on it, and they are representatives of the International Black Summit. I'll be asking them to introduce themselves in a minute, but before we do that, I'd like to say a massive thank you to our podcast family for your continued support. And if you're listening or watching us for the first time, I would advise that you subscribe now, just so that you'll be notified anytime a new episode is aired. As usual, our aim is to motivate, inform, and inspire you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Podcast with SHEILA.
Good morning, and good afternoon, and good evening. Wherever you are. That's right.
Great to be with you this morning, today.
It's a delight, actually, to be hosting you all here on the platform. I think this is the first time we're doing a group recording, and I'm excited to see the outcome and how it's going to go. So let's kick right into it. If you don't mind introducing yourselves to our listeners.
I'm MWANGAZA, MICHAEL-BANDELE. I am a facilitator of the International Black Summit. And very delighted to join this conversation today, where we will have an opportunity to just talk about the summit and what we do in the world.
Great.
And my name is GREENIDGE, and I'm executive director for a not-for-profit organization, and very involved in the community, economic development, and youth development. So that's me.
My name is ORIN, and I'm a facilitator of the International Black Summit.
Okay.
And I'm an entrepreneur in New York City. I reside in New York, specifically in Brooklyn, and I have a natural hair salon located in Manhattan. I'm a father of 2 grown children and a grandfather of 5. And basically, that's who I am.
Great. Lovely to meet you all. And I'll say let's kick right into it. So what is the International Black Summit all about? What's the history behind it, and how long has it been in existence?
Well, the International Black Summit has been around since 1991, but it actually started unofficially before that, through some conversations. It was out of 2 ladies who were actually, one was getting a divorce, one was getting married, and they were in a program, and they said, wouldn't it be nice if we could support black relationships, black men and black women being in a relationship? And that conversation started. And we're talking about back in the 90s. So back in the 90s, we didn't have all the virtual meeting spaces. We had what they called the chain link. So I could call one person, and then I could call the next person, and the next person calls daisy chain. So that would daisy chain, but the daisy chain only went maybe 3 or 4 deep. Otherwise, you couldn't really talk. So we would have 15, 20 people, and we'd have to kind of repeat it all the way around. So they decided that they wanted to have a meeting in person rather than over the phone. And so they sent out a document to various locations inside of this network specifically for people of Black African descent who were graduates of this program. And the program was landmark education, so they do transformational work, and the black graduates from that event formulated and came together in 1991 to formulate the International Black Summit with the intention of supporting the transformation of our community. and in terms of doing that with by people of Black African descent for people of Black African descent. So it was really, and we also wanted to make it economical enough so that more people could participate as well. So that was our goal when we started, and so that set us up for the first event in 1991 in Atlanta, October 7th.
Wow, I think this is a brilliant group, and I'm hearing about it for the first time, but I think I want to believe that it's all over the world. Is it? How many branches do you have around the world?
Well, I don't know that we have branches. We have people that are located all around the world, because we've been to Kenya, South Africa, Jamaica, Brazil, Anguilla,
England.
Yeah, go ahead, Orin.
No, I said England.
And England. Yes, that's right. We were in London.
Okay.
So we've been all around the world. So we have people who participated that live in these particular locations. So it's not like a branch or a chapter or anything,
okay.
but we are a community.
All right. So do you move around the world having events wherever you go?
Yes.
That's what it is. Okay, great. What's the vision and the purpose for the summit?
The purpose of the International Black Summit is to provide an opportunity for participants to bring into being their vision for the Black community and the world. That's the basic purpose of what the summit is. So the summit always self-finance itself. So I finance myself being in the summit. Glenn, MWANGAZA, wherever part of the world we go, we finance ourselves, and we also support all the people in the various areas that we go, particularly outside of the country, where the economic situation might be a little challenging for people to be in the summit. So it's as was explained to my brother, it's not about this institutionalized organization with a building and that kind of stuff. It's not that. It's self-generated, and we look to see where life is asking us to be, and that's where we go, and we bring transformation using the language, the everything that we've learned inside of our 33 years from this organization. So the people there.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I think further down my questions, that what are some of the transformation you've brought in the lives of people. But because you've mentioned it now, let's go straight into it and find out what are some of the changes you've made in the lives of people who have been part of the summit.
Yeah, I'd like to just circle back a bit before we jump into outcomes and just underscore, showcase, italicize what it is we do.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times, Sheila, you've had conversations with folks who say they're going to support you in bringing into life, into reality, producing your vision. Like, I don't know how many conversations you've had or your audience has had about just the question, what is your vision? What is your vision today? What is your vision for the week, for the month, certainly for your life, for this season of your life? And so it's real, because we are habitual creatures, we human beings, it's easy to move accordingly in a conversation and not get how huge the purpose of this organization is. So, because I know, and you tell me if this is your reality, there are so many folks that look like you and I.
Yeah.
Very great, wonderful aspirations, visions, things that we want to manifest in the world. And so often, I say, we don't. There's a reason why we don't. And there are many different reasons for different people. So here we have created an opportunity, a source, a hub of people, information, technologies, distinctions that we use that really help us to first and foremost get our minds right, so that we can know we are the gift and that we have a vision that we come with, whether we're fully aware or not. And so the International Black Summit provides an opportunity for individuals of African descent to bring into vision what they see for themselves and for their community. And I don't know, I know we're not live, but I know there's an amen that's going to be heard around the world when we get into this understanding of how huge that is. Yeah. You don't have to sit in a corner, you don't have to want, you don't have to weep, you don't have to, just cry into your pillow or be depressed or take less or accept. You don't have to do any of those things. You can literally step into the bigness that you are as a person of African descent in this world. We're doing so. We're trained not to do that. Oh, we turn that all around. We turn it completely around. So I hope that gives a further understanding of the function of the International Black Summit as we move into a conversation about what we do, what we produce, what's the outcome.
Great. Let's hold on the outcome for now. And I think as you were talking, I got a clear picture of what it is about. And especially when you mentioned, let's get our minds right. And I think that is where it all starts from, getting our minds right. And I think earlier on this week, I was having a conversation with my son, my stepson, and we were talking about Africans and the way our minds are programmed. And in a way, the conversation had geared from African children who are raised abroad and those raised back home, and trying to find out if the way we are brought up has an influence in our thinking and our attitude and the way we go about things. And I think that the summit is a great place to bring all of us together as one body and learn from each other what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, and try to write our path. I work with women. I've said it so many times on this platform, and this gives me the opportunity to meet so I always say that I have the world in the room, because I have women from different parts of the world. Yes. I work with Indians. Yes. I work with the Asian community, the Black community, the European community. I work with all of them, so I get to know them, learn from them, their culture, the way they think, believe, and all of that. And sometimes when we have conversations in the group, some of our conversations kind of veer off a little bit, and some of the comments that come out tend to be, I wouldn't like to go there. But then when we look at our Black community, it looks like we have to come together as one body and build ourselves up. We definitely need a strong body, as a united body, to build ourselves up, because people outside of the Black community have a lens with which they look at us through. And we can only write this when we support each other and become a much stronger force than when we stand as a divided force, when we think we are united. I don't know if I'm making sense with what I have to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things, we have some tools called distinctions.
Yeah.
And we use those distinctions to keep ourselves present. So let me give you an example. So I have a particular vision around youth and empowering our young people. And by the way, we have 3 levels of our programming. So we have youth, we have young adult, and then we have adult.
Okay.
And so I have a particular affinity to the youth. And so the opportunity for me inside of that space is to allow our young people, and it really is for across all 3 areas, is to explore that vision, to look at what is stopping them. Is it fear? Is it some cultural or community thing that they're doing that's stopping them from having the success or achieving the vision that they have for themselves? And so these distinctions, and I'll give you one, is trigger. And so trigger is when you're unable or unwilling to be with what's going on. And so we use the English language, but we use it in a particular way. And the way that we use it to help us stay present. So when I'm triggered, I'm inside of a conversation and something triggers me. It could be a past incident, something similar to what the person is talking about. That trigger takes me away, has me stop being engaged. I'm now engaged in my history of that thing. Maybe it's divorce, maybe it's loss of money, a business, whatever. And we use the distinction trigger and to notice when I'm triggered, to notice when I've disengaged, to notice that I'm now not being present. And so now that I have that tool, I have a choice. I can now bring myself back to that conversation that I was triggered out of, that I was, not noticing who I was being. And again, noticing is that when I'm looking outside of myself, at myself, in the engagement that I'm currently having. So we have a slew of tools to keep us present, because oftentimes, let me speak for myself, oftentimes I get off track by life. Life will come in and interfere, and I'll have an upset, or something will go wrong, and I'm focused on that rather than my commitment. And so the tools are to bring us back to that particular commitment.
Great.
Piggybacking on what Glenn said, one of the things that he was speaking to specifically, the grounding of the International Black Summit is inside of our declaration.
Yeah.
That's one. And then inside of that, we look to see what for each individual, bringing their vision. And the tools that we use, as Glenn was saying, helps us to keep present, to keep bringing that vision up to the surface, because it's the tools and the summit allows us to do, and we call that space when we get together and we start to speak, and sometimes there are things there for us. We call another distinction called clearing. So it enables us to, when our circumstances come inside of the way, we go through a process so that we can become present to the vision, and that we can navigate our lives through our commitment and not from our circumstances. So that's, piggybacking on what Glenn said.
So
I wanted to add.
Great. Everything you've just said, does that fall under the programs for the summit?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great. Should I ask, what are the results people are to expect when they attend the summit?
You want to try that one, guys?
Absolutely. I appreciate the question. What results should a person expect? Unpredictable results. Just unpredictable. And what I mean by that is, and that phrase is a part of our declaration, you're going to walk into an environment, first of all, where you are honored and valued for who you are.
Yeah.
Okay. You are going to engage people and processes that are designed to bring forward really, really, really what you want for yourself. Like really what you want for yourself. You're going to hear, probably, you're likely to hear stories and experiences from other people's lives that informs your own, right? And if you are really inspired to step fully into the summit event, you're going to have an opportunity to engage with a facilitator and get out for your own life some aspect, some clarity around some aspect that you might present. And so overall, it goes back to the purpose. The engagement, the conversation, the questions that are asked, the responses, and where they take us are all designed to provide an opportunity for folks to bring into being their vision for themselves and the world, for the Black community and the world. And so it's a there are different kinds of events. Our signature event is the annual summit event that was talked about earlier, that's happened all over the world, 11 countries, 27 different cities. But you're going to actually have an opportunity to sit and be with you and the gift that you are in a way that allows you to bring that gift forward. That's the design of the summit. That's the design of the summit.
Is there a way to paint a clearer picture of what the day is? It in a day? Is the summit done in a day, or is it a week long, or what is it?
The annual summit event is 4 days.
4 days.
4 days, yes, and it includes a opportunity to get prepared. We do what we call a prerequisite that prepares you for that. But yeah, it's 4 days.
It's 4 days, every day with a different activity.
Because we don't have a driven agenda per se. We don't walk in there with a sheet and we're going to cover this, that, and the other. We listen to the space. We listen to find out what people are up to. You mentioned your group of women that get together.
Yeah.
So there may be a particular concern that comes up, specific, that may be something with current events or something that you're all kind of in tune to. That kind of gets bubbled up in the conversation. And we work with you as an individual, because this is all self-reflective work that we do. So even though you all have the same concern, there may be different aspects of the concern that you get to look at for yourself. So this is very driven about you looking and using the tools that we have to look to see what's happening with you, and there are insights that are gotten, and I want to be clear, this is not about change. This is about transformation. So in business, for example, you make a change and you get a 5%, maybe a 10% increase in your revenues or your attendance or what have you. We're talking about doing a 100x change, a transformation that causes your beingness changes, and then the outcome is impacted by your change in being. Because a lot of times we think it's all about doing, and so we have you investigate where you're coming from, where you're thinking from. Are you doing strategies that you've known, as opposed to discovering a strategy that you hadn't even heard of, hadn't even come into your space before? So that propels you a much further than just a change. So the results that people get are very individual, but they're shared in a space, in a room, so that they are like popping like popcorn. So Orin speaks, and I hear something. Now I don't have the same consideration necessarily, but I hear something that I could use. So I glean from that. And then MWANGAZA shares something and I glean from that. And somebody else. So I've got all of these things that are coming at me for me to look at inside of my commitment. And some of them I might not have even thought about or come to the summit to work on. But I'm getting those kind of inputs. And I'm looking at what I'm there for as well. I'm working on. So all of these things come at you, and so the results are unpredictable because you didn't know that you were going to get what you got. But in the listening of the space, you get you get this wealth of knowledge. Because the truth is, we as people of Black African descent have marvelous things that are available, and it's the getting together, as you talked about earlier, that has this dynamic available inside of the space, and it's a safe space. It's a space that you can share your inner thoughts and understand that it's not going to go outside of the room. So you get to work on those little things that you've held close to your heart that you might not have even shared with other people in your family, but we create that kind of a space so that you feel comfortable enough to say what's going on with you, and to notice and to interact with yourself around your commitments and your vision.
Wow. As you talk, I feel more drawn to your activities, and it looks like a place where I would love to be. And I'll be excited. Do you have a virtual, meeting as well as regards to the summit? Do you do a virtual presentation of it and a physical one, so that people who are not in your locality can also come together, whether online or anything like that?
What we do offer, and this year we have a particularly unique offering. So we're going to be in 3 locations, but it's going to be one summit event. So we're going to be live in Buffalo, New York, Antigua, West Indies, and virtual. Okay. So we have all 3 of those occurring this year for the annual summit event. Now we also have other events as well. We have a community event that we do. We have Sunday Summit Shares, where we get together and talk about different things. Like this month, we're talking about community. What's your relationship to community? How does community impact you? So we have also these conversations, and then we have some standalone prerequisites that we can do, and different programs. So we have some programs, but as MWANGAZA said earlier, that our annual event is really the one that we focus on. It's the first weekend in August always, and we look to see where it's going to be.
Inside of the 4-day event, it's a prerequisite that starts in the early part of the day, and normally we complete by 6 o'clock or so. And the purpose of the prerequisite is to give people the language and some of the exposure to the distinctions that we're going to be using throughout the weekend, so that they can get more involved and understanding of the whole process that we go through. Then that Thursday evening, we have what we call a relationship evening. And that's the evening where we get together and people from every aspect of the community, friends that you want to invite, can be there. The International Black Summit at this point of where we are is specifically for people of Black African descent. But on the Thursday evening, you could invite people of any ethnicity, nationality, whatever. Inside of the process, for the next 3 days, even if you do not do the prerequisite the day before, it's not mandatory. It used to be mandatory, but you don't have to do that, because now we've let that, we also go over some of that language and understanding in the first day of the summit itself. So that's, people have that opportunity and chance. People see what their commitment is and what their vision is, each individual, what my vision is for the Black community and the world. And then I act on that. And inside of acting on that, I see the space to self-generate. Sometimes one with not knowing how this is going to occur, right? So, like for instance, one of the spaces that I'm in personally is that I want to, although we're going to be involved in different places in the world, in Antigua, in two places in the world physically on the ground, in Antigua and in Buffalo, New York, Antigua, West Indies, and Buffalo, New York, and also virtual. Many people in the summit would come together and they would have semi-gatherings throughout the country, sometimes in Chicago, and they would put themselves together, but that is self-generated by them. And they're passionate to have other people and friends in their communities. Yet, for my purpose in bringing what I say I want to see happen in the world and what I want to see happen in Guyana, I am self-generated youth summit. Now, where all the money is going to come from, all the logistics, right? I have 6 weeks to have that happen. And I'm communicating from New York with people in Guyana and looking to see how we can make this happen. But it's totally out of my own vision for people of young Black African descent in Guyana, but not just for the Black people. We know that inside of these young people and our youth summit, the one that I'm looking to generate in Guyana, is they come from 8 to 17 years old. So in my vision, if I can get those young people now to start to live their lives out of vision and commitment and not out of the circumstances, which there are many happening in Guyana at this time of point, what is possible? What are the unpredictable results that we can have? So it's like, and that's, I'm passionate about that. Like Glenn, passionate about young people and young adults and, and everybody basically. But that is totally some self-generation. I said the one the unique strengths for me is self-generation and my passion. And those are things that show up in the summit a lot for people and individuals. And that's it. I'll stop there.
Great. I think we move on now to the declaration if there is nothing else to add, and then we start wrapping up.
Well, let me add this. One of the breakthroughs that I had inside the International Black Summit. So I want you to know I've been working with computers since high school. Went to college for computers and accounting. All very structured, all very strategic in terms of how do you look, how do you analyze. So, and then I worked in the field in data process for about 25 years. So with that background, there is a particular way to do things. Yeah. You look at it, you structure it, you go from A to B to C to D to E to F. I got into the International Black Summit, and two things occurred. They had a distinction called no right way to be. I'm like, what do you mean, no right way to be? What are you talking about? My mind, my structured mind is going crazy. But what I discovered in that is that I only allowed for a certain type of result to be produced. So it was kind of like, I had the blinders on. I didn't look to the left. I knew how to do it and I could get it done. And I could get it done successfully. Yeah. But no right way to be had me look wider than that and allow the universe to contribute to me. Because when the universe contributes to me, something occurs that I had no idea. There was a way showed up that I would have never thought of, contrived, conceived, because I had it a particular way. So, that particular distinction was one of the ones that kind of blew me away, that changed my whole makeup. The other thing that we do, haven't talked about it, but each year we look at the inquiry or a question, and we kind of bump up against it, kind of, use that to open our lives and to discover things about myself that I hadn't discovered before. And one of the inquiries that blew me away is be with what is. Be with what is. So inside of my upset, inside of my thoughts, inside of it should be a different way than it is. I want it this way. It should be that way. All of those thoughts had to get quieted and allow myself to be with what was occurring. Yeah. Because, by the way, I created it. This is not somebody else's creation. I created my life the way it looks this way. So if I'm not happy with it, then I get to do something with it. Nobody else is going to do it. I have to do it for myself. So it's these kind of inquiries that you bump up against, and you begin to you notice, oh, I've been doing it one particular way, but there are many ways. And so, again, life shows up differently. And those unpredictable results that we talk about really show up and benefit, whatever I'm up to. And it's for each individual. So it's not just for me, but other people, as I said earlier, other people hear something and they get something from that conversation as well as myself. And part of that is the interaction with the facilitators. Because I'm not going to say, Sheila, you should do this. You'll never hear that from a facilitator. You'll hear, well, what do you see? What do you see now that you've looked at this insight or got this new way of being? What's now available for you? What do you see now in this moment that you didn't see before? And you talk about it, and you begin to kind of have some dialogue about it. And then remember also, you've got other people in the space, so there may be somebody else that has something similar or a business that's similar to what you're working on. So you also get to network. Yeah. So you get to network on an international basis, because there may be some things that are going on that you can support in another country because you're doing that in your city or country. Yeah. So all of those are now added benefits. Now you went there for your particular commitment to kind of have a breakthrough in your commitment, and all these other things show up: networking, new insights, new relationships, new relationship to yourself. Yeah. And so all that gets expanded.
I want to just tag what Glenn was saying, because this is what's, in my opinion, wondrous about these conversations. It's like, I, like Glenn, listened to this distinction, no right way to be, and I was like, these black folks done lost their mind. What are you talking about? The state of black folks on this planet? What do you mean? That there's so much to do, and there's nothing to do except be. No, there's a whole lot to do in my mind, right? When I first heard this distinction, what is, in my estimation, brilliant about the distinctions is that it simply calls for you to become more aware, expand your awareness of the possibilities. It's not to say that if you look in a direction you haven't looked before, that is the direction that is for you. It may be, it may not be. But there is value in looking. There is value in discovering the more. There is value in understanding perhaps why you haven't looked before, beyond what you've been trained and oriented to look. And it's just such an adventure, if you will, to investigate what really for many of us is the unknown. Again, you may not take the route of the unknown. You might. But let's look and see. Let us expand our opportunities so that we can then choose from a more informed place. Yeah. Because we have looked. And either way, you're going to be affirmed because you know more. You know more than if you've never looked at all. So it's just such a wondrous and adventurous investigation that we allow, right? Yeah. Without prejudgment, and get present to our habits, our training that has us on automatic. I just want to add that.
Great. As Glenn was speaking and as you came in, I was getting that life is like a blank canvas. And I think I'd read this post somewhere. And we are the architects of our lives. So you decide what kind of color you want to put on your canvas, and whatever you want to do with the canvas is like you're painting your own life, and is entirely up to you as an artist of your life. So decide what you want to do, what information you want to seek. And I think that the Black Summit is a brilliant way of bringing the Black community together, trying to understand ourselves and see what kind of help we could offer each other, because I believe that we're going to have a rich culture meeting there, if I'm saying it right. People from different backgrounds coming in, then we can all do well to tap into each other's giftings and each other's knowledge and whatever each other have to enrich ourselves. So it's a best place to be, if you ask me. And I'll be excited to be part of your virtual meetings whenever I get an invitation or I get the opportunity to do that. I'll be excited to do that as well. Let's get into your declaration, and then we finally bring this episode to an end.
We declare ourselves, our community, and all communities whole and complete. There's nothing to do except be. We assert that we are responsible for generating community as possibility and distinction. We listen for and grant being to the possibility and creation of unpredictable results. Our conversation of, about, and for those of African descent is one of power, self-generation, abundance, responsibility, unity, and integrity with the possibility of being. We stand for the expression of our spirituality, ending the murders of our men, women, and children, building economies responsible for funding our community, maintaining wellness of being in our bodies, providing human services, establishing nurturing relationships, altering the conversation of who we are in the media, empowering our youth. We declare that our community manifests itself in the world as a contribution in the transformation of the universe. Atlanta, Georgia, October 7th, 1991. And normally what we do with that is we'll say today's date, and then we take a moment of silence. So we start and end all of our sessions inside of that declaration, so that kind of grounds us, that gives us the context. And oh, by the way, that was put together at the first event. Saturday night, there were breakout sessions and all of the different things that people were interested in, relationships, community development, youth, ending the murders of men, women, and children. All of those different aspects were part of the discussion and were included, and a group of people overnight put all that together and presented that the next day to the group of 121 people. And the 121 people looked at it and said, yes, that captures what we're up to and who we are. And that's been the ground of being that we've adopted and continue to ground ourselves with and use as our context for our visioning that we each do individually, community, and for the Black community in the world.
Brilliant. I think the declaration is very much on point, and I really, really like that. Will there be a final message to our listeners as we draw the curtain to a close, or that will be it?
One of the things that I would like to say, when we started the conversation earlier, you did mention about what other people may think about us. And if you can remember, it was inside, it may not be your actual words, but it pointed to something like looking outside of ourselves and what other people may think about us. And what we found in the summit is that the things that we say about ourselves can be the most damaging things. So one of the things that the declaration does, and standing inside of vision, we start to shift that conversation about other people, and we look into ourselves and bring out, like MWANGAZA would like to say, the black magnificence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what the opportunity of the summit is. It gets us to see the actual places where we hold ourselves back from being the media.
Yeah.
Not the out there media, but the media that we say and the way we speak and what we tell our children. Like issues like constantly people saying black people don't have unity. As black people, we're not unified.
Yeah.
We keep saying that.
Yeah.
And we keep reinforcing that conversation inside of our children.
Yeah.
So that conversation would never change. I don't care how long, as long it's being said that way.
Yeah.
The summit gives you an opportunity to shift that conversation.
Great. Great.
So that's how I was saying. I want to speak on it, but that's where I am.
Oh,
And the last thing I wanted to say is our website is www.blacksummit.org. So you can get all information. You can register for our annual event. You can see our declaration. You can hear some of the other things that we've done in the past. Certainly visit our website.
I want to extend a personal invitation to everyone who is listening and watching this particular conversation. This is your personal invitation. Sheila, we already have your name on your seat, just so you know, okay?
Great, thank
you. We are expecting you to be there.
Great.
And so if you are a person of African descent who is up to something in life, if you want more for yourself, if you're reaching and you want to reach higher, if you have aspirations for your family, for your children, if you want more for your community, if you want to live and breathe beyond the orientation that we are often situated in, that has us not realize how great we really are, then be there, because we're waiting for you. This invitation is just for you, especially for you. As Glenn said, go to blacksummit.org or internationalblacksummit.org. All the information you need to ascend in your life is waiting for you to click and join us. We are at the door, peeping out the window with open arms.
Great. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed this. I would like to say a massive thank you to you all for coming on Podcast with Sheila to share with us your vision for the International Black Summit.
Our pleasure. Thank you for the invitation, Sheila.
Thank you.
Great.
Sheila.
Great. It was an honor. If you've been listening in, this is season 2, episode 84 of our podcast series where we bring seasoned guests with inspiring real life experiences and stories to share with us. Do not miss out on all these lovely experiences. Subscribe and be notified when a new episode is released. Whilst at it, please drop us a rating. We have a video presentation of this episode on our YouTube channel. Just search for Podcast with Sheila on YouTube and you would find us. Our prayer for you this week is that you become a change agent and a beacon of light wherever you find yourself. Together we'll make the world a better place. Until we meet again, have a brilliant week.